Oh, who shall from this dungeon raise a soul enslaved so many ways, with bolts of bones that fettered stands, and feet and mantled hands? Here, blinded with an eye, and there, deaf with the drumming of an ear, a soul hung up as 'twere in chains of nerves and arteries and veins, tortured besides each other part, in a vain head and double heart.
Oh, who shall me deliver whole from bonds of this tyrannic soul, which stretched upright impales me so, that my own precipice I go, and warms and moves this needless frame. A fever could do the same, and wanting near its spite to try, has made me live to let me die. A body that could never rest, since this ill spirit it possessed.
What magic could me thus confine, within another's grief to pine, where whatsoever it complain, I feel that cannot feel the pain, and all my care itself employs, that to preserve me which destroys, constrained not only to endure diseases, but what's worse, the cure, and ready off the port to gain, am shipwrecked into health again.
But physic yet could never reach the maladies thou me dost teach, whom first the cramp of hope does tear, and then the palsy shakes of fear, the pestilence of love does heat, of hatred's hidden ulcer eat. Joy's cheerful madness does perplex, or sorrow's other madness vex, which knowledge forces me to know, and memory will not forego. What but a soul could have the wit to build me up from sin so fit, so architects do square and hew green trees that in the forest grow.
Alright, so we had a dialogue between the soul and the body by Andrew Marvell. So this is basically a conversation between the body and the soul. Alright, so it starts off with the soul as the speaker, and basically in the stanza he uses diction and metaphors like dungeon, enslaved, and tortured to kind of set the tone and how he feels like it's like a metaphor for him being like constrained and like just in pain by the body. He uses the alliteration of bolts of bones, and he uses words like the physical aspects of like the actual body, like blinded, deaf, nerves, arteries, veins, head, and heart, to show the unhappiness due to the physical pain of being inside the body where he's trapped. He also says a soul hung up as 'twere in chains. So this simile kind of shows like how he's stuck against his will in the body, and it's kind of gives you an imagery of slavery. So that kind of just sets like the tone of the conflict between the body and soul. And then the next stanza, the body is speaking. So, well, I didn't mention before, but he starts off with a rhetorical question to kind of talk, or to like address the body, and then the body uses a rhetorical question to address the soul. But again, kind of just showing his issues with the soul. So he uses the word tyrannic to kind of like show that the soul is like an evil dictator. And then he uses words like bond, stretched, and pales to kind of show the restraint and the pain that he feels being stuck with the soul. He goes on to say, use the phrase needless frame, which kind of shows that the body can't escape to heaven like the soul can, so he kind of feels useless and that there's no reason for him to die because he can't go anywhere. Like the soul can go up, but he can't, so he sees like really no reason to actually even be alive because like he's not going anywhere. Then the phrase has made me live to let me die. This kind of just shows the resentment the body feels for the soul for giving the body life, and then the soul can leave as soon as the body dies, but the body has no place to go, so he kind of resents the soul for even like bringing him to life in the first place. And then he finishes his conversation with a body that can never rest since this ill spirit it possessed. This kind of shows how it's like contrasting how the soul didn't want the physical pain like that it got from the body, and the body doesn't want like the mental, emotional pain that the soul provides it. So the next speaker, or the soul, starts to speak again. Again, he's starting off with a rhetorical question to kind of address the body and make its point. In the first line, it uses the word magic, what kind of shows, it's kind of like a negative use of the word magic, because it kind of shows the bad relationship between the body and soul. He's kind of like being rude about it. He goes on to say, I feel that cannot feel the pain. So without the body, the soul couldn't feel pain. So he kind of, again, is like, doesn't want the body to even be alive because he doesn't have to want to feel the pain. The next line he says, and all my care itself employs that to preserve which me destroys. So the body, or what he's saying is that the body uses the soul to keep itself healthy. So it kind of like mooches off of it and uses it for its own benefit, and it doesn't care that it's hurting the soul. Again, then it starts just talking about where it's like constrained, diseases, destroys. Again, just kind of like set the tone of like how the soul feels and like in relation to its relationship with the body. And then the last line, am shipwrecked into health again. This kind of is going back to how like the soul, like when the body starts to get sick or when it's not doing well, the soul is like excited because it wants the body to die, which sounds really bad, but it wants the body to die so it can be set free. But then when the body like regains its health, the soul is still trapped. So he kind of is like upset about that. All right, so the final stanza, the speaker's the body, but it really like switches between the body and the soul. It starts off with metaphors to physical pain that the soul can't experience, but the body does. So the body's kind of like, you're getting off easy, you don't even have to experience this, like cramps, palsy, shakes, ulcers, madness, like, so just metaphors to like the physical pain that humans and the bodies like endure. He uses, or when he says, or hatred's hidden ulcer eat, that's kind of showing that hatred is a hidden illness that that the body doesn't have to feel. Next, it says, joy's cheerful, madness does perplex, or sorrow's other madness vex. That's kind of using or repeating the word madness kind of just shows that they both have madness and both of them are like struggling and they feel pain just in different ways, but they're both like mad. He then says, which knowledge forces me to know and memory will not forego. So basically that means that the soul, even though that like the body feels pain, the soul has to remember all of the feelings. They can't get rid of it, like the pain, or like the body can get rid of the pain with like medicine or something. The soul still remembers everything. Then it uses another rhetorical question. What but a soul could have the wit to build me up for sin so fit? So this is kind of a somber tone as the body makes the soul, or the soul makes the body commit sin, which the body doesn't want to do, but because of the soul and their relationship, it forces it to commit sin. And then the last line, so architects do square and hew green trees that in the forest grew. This is a metaphor kind of showing how the soul captures the body and makes it human, and it's using like architectures like cutting down trees and making it to something useful like paper or something. And then by the soul making the body human, it like the body comes with like a bunch of human baggage, just like the parts of being a human the soul like forces upon the body. So it's just kind of resenting that, and then it just uses the green trees just to like emphasize his point even more.
It's soapstone to analyze this poem. And so the speaker is obviously the soul and the body, and they're having this conflict with each other. So they're the two speakers. The occasion is the fight between them and just like everything that they're trying to communicate to each other. And it was written in the 1600s, but that probably just has more to do with what kind of language than what was actually happening in the poem. The audience is all people. Everyone can experience this conflict, so it's really not to anyone specifically. The purpose... Oh my god, sorry. I'll just cut that out. Is to show the fight between them and, like, how each of them cause each other pain, and the soul wants the body to die because it wants to go to heaven, but the body doesn't want to be left alone, so it's kind of like to show the pain of moving on to the afterlife, but also the conflict that is experienced on Earth. And they're kind of competing for who has the worst deal. The subject is the afterlife and the pain of living and conflict between the soul and the body, and pretty much just like philosophically, like if your body's in pain, then your soul's probably in pain, but sometimes the soul is happy even if your body's in pain, like when you're sick. So that's crazy. And then the tone is very somber and depressing, and it's just kind of like your soul wants to move on, so it's really like, it's vitriolic and like a painful kind of like, it's ready to move on at the end of its life. So yeah.